Welcome to Changing the Sales Game podcast on webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, and I'm so happy that you're joining us today. Now, as we continue the conversation about sales not being something that's icky sleazy, rather it's something that we can share and come from a place of love, care, and respect. I am on a movement, and we are going to change that movement. We're going to change the sales game to make it so much more comfortable and for us to come from a place of service. So to help you with that mindset shift, please go and take my free communication style assessment. It's just another tool you put in your tool belt that gives you some insight into your natural superpowers on how you communicate, how you show up, how you're being received. You also get a report, very short report. They're not long, but it gives you insight into your lowest score or the style that's least like you, probably even more important than your superpowers. So take it, go to whitmanassociates.com/CSA, and that is my gift to you. Now, my motivational quote today is by Leo Burnett. And Leo says, make it simple, make it memorable, make it inviting to look at, make it fun to read. So everyone that knows me knows that I love to talk and speak and chat and engage with other humans, right? It's my jam. It's fun and it's super easy for me. So as I look back on my sales career of 39 years, right? Yikes, a lifetime later, I realized that I kind of had that innate skill to begin with of just being able to talk with anyone in any part of business, right? No matter what their level was. Well, now let's flip that, right? Instead of speaking it or talking it, we're talking about writing and marketing skills, a different ballgame. Well, that for me is a whole different, that is not my jam. Let's put it that way. And here's how I approach my business when I lack a needed skill to grow my business. Marketing is a needed resource and skill, right? To continue to scale and grow. Well, I investigate. For me, how do I approach something like that? When, especially if I don't want to do it, is I investigate hiring the right person or team to help me with whatever that updated business solution is. So I know I can't do it alone. And I know that I do have blind spots just like all of you. So my guest today may be a possible solution for you if you need to write marketing copy that converts. Now, if you're like me, you trust me, you need her help. So today my guest is Kim Whitcamp. And Kim is a conversion, very important word there, conversion copywriter, marketing strategist, and also a pod pal of mine. As a creator of the audience conversion method and host of the Audience Converter podcast for community leaders, she helps coaches connect, cultivate, and convert their communities. Kim works with clients to put the right message in front of the right people at the right time, especially when we're talking about emails. She's helped people increase their open rate up to 80%, which is outstanding, peeps, and hit their six-figure launch and double conversions on their landing pages. She knows what she's doing. She loves talking marketing like I love talking sales. She also loves travel, and she's a sci-fi freak, and she's just my good friend, Kim. So thanks for coming down the show, Kim.
Oh my gosh, Connie, thank you so much for having me. And I love that introduction, and what a great quote for what we're talking about today. It's so apt. I'm like nodding along as she's reading this out, everyone. And it's just amazing. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it was funny as I was looking for the quote. And then as soon as I hit that one, I read a couple of more just to make sure. I'm like, why are you reading more? It's the one, it's the right one, right? To put out there. But here's the thing. And this is, I think, an important, and you and I have been in networking events together, and we've known each other for over a year now. Marketing and sales are two very different things, very different skill sets. And it was funny. It wasn't you, my friends, because I think your vision of how you help businesses is brilliant. Okay. But there was an email that came through. I'm on somebody's list, and it said something like, well, you don't have to sell to make more sales. And then it went on to say, like, you don't have to sell, you don't have to have sales conversations. And my head almost exploded because I thought, well, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Of course you need to develop your sales skills. That's like saying to me, don't worry about the marketing. You're really good at talking, but I'm not good at my messaging in a marketing campaign or in an email campaign. And that's a whole different sensory for potential clients. So to say you need one and not the other, or to say that, oh, marketing, you could figure it out. I can't figure it out, right? So I need people like Kim in my life to help me with that messaging. So why is email marketing so important especially for all businesses, not just for small businesses.
Yeah, email marketing is important because it's pretty much the only option out there right now where you can communicate one-to-one in a mass way to people who have asked to hear from you. There's three different parts to that, right? You're communicating one-to-one because at the end of the day, somebody's going to make that choice. Somebody's going to make the choice to say, yes, that's for me. No, that's not for me. Yes, that's for the company. No, that's not for the company. Yes, that's a right fit. I'm ready to get on a call. No, that's not the right fit, right? So one-to-one is really important. It's really important for us to kind of create that connection, especially
Absolutely.
now, right? There's so much out there and people are kind of lost in a sea of information. So when you can make a real connection with any kind of marketing material that you put out there, that's really valuable. Number two, of course, is that it's scalable, right? People receive it one-to-one, but you can send 1,000 at a time. You can send 10,000 at a time. You can send 100,000 at a time, right? So it's scalable, but it still gives that one-to-one connection. And as I said, right, it's really important to kind of just be there as yourself. And people have asked to hear from you. So it's different than social media ads. It's different than Google ads. It's different than even magazine ads or print ads or paid media ads of any kind, because these are people who have said, oh, I like what this person had to say. At some point, I want to hear more from them. So they've raised their hand and said, yes, you're allowed to send me information, as opposed to getting junk mail or getting those random sponsored LinkedIn messages from people who have absolutely no idea what you do or any of those types of things. So email really is that trifecta of being able to connect, cultivate, and convert your people.
Yeah, the 3 C's, right, that you always talk about. And Kim, this is important because I know for myself, it's funny because, right, I use Active Campaign and I've, I've almost 3,000 on my list now, right? It's grown over the year, which is wonderful. And I was voted, nominated, right, for the People's Choice Award International for Canada and the US. So I sent out an email today to everybody saying, today's the last day to vote, please vote. I know I asked for so much. And people, and it's in my email, it's in my Active Campaign. 3 people responded, Connie, I voted. I'm so excited for you. They feel that now we've never met. I don't know who they are necessarily. The one person I did, the other person I didn't. And I responded, thank you so much. You made my day. Thank you for the love and support. Right. So it also provides an opportunity for me literally to personally respond when they said something to me. And the other funny thing I just wanted to share, Kim, that happens because what's on, who do I email? What do I email? I email my shows. I have 2 podcasts, free content. I don't know. I know people are following me, so I want to make it easy. Here's this great content, right? My guests are amazing on my podcast. Here's that info. So that's 2 emails they get a week. If they opted in for something, a gift, they get that link to that gift, right? Another free resource. So I know you do the same thing. We give a lot of free things away. And then what happens is you get on multiple lists within our list. So depending on what's going on through the year, then we can tap you on the shoulder, right? In a very big way to say, hey, I'm running my free webinar workshop. I'd love for you to come. And it's so cute, Kim, because when people come, and you have this too, I'm sure they come to the workshop. I'm like, how'd you find me? Oh, I've been on your email list for about a year now. I'm like, really? Oh, yes. I love getting and they share the excitement or I don't listen to the podcast through the email. So I deleted myself on those, but I'm on another list. And they send me these loving emails like, please don't be offended that I'm opting out of the shows because I get them on my Apple podcast. People are really lovely and engage personally, even when you do these big mail campaigns. It's the one-on-one. Is everybody listening to that? Marketing is still connecting with that person and building that relationship through marketing, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's the one-to-one. And it kind of gives us that ability to really make a connection, even if we don't get to meet face to face, right? Especially during COVID, right? During the pandemic, right? Still, I'm not going to in-person, huge gatherings type things. So how else are you supposed to make that connection? How can you let it be known that you're open to having conversations? I've had people respond to, this is one of the best compliments I've ever received. One of my clients, we created a full campaign for her launch, what was going on, and she sent it out and she was getting responses from people saying like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Thank you so much for letting me know about this. And she's like, never in my life have I gotten thank yous for getting marketing messaging and for people telling me how awesome my emails were. And she's like, but you wrote them, right? And that's where the power comes from, is that when people feel you're a real person, that's what makes them want to buy, right? People buy from people. Especially now with the evolving market, people buy from companies and from people they like, they support, they enjoy their values. So if you can demonstrate that in a one-to-one messaging, there's no better opportunity for you to really connect with people.
And here's the cool thing with marketing and sales, they really are married together, and you need both. You can't have one without the other. But years ago when I first started in sales, Kim, the rule of thumb was you had to touch the customer about 5 times before they would say yes, right? That they actually heard what you were saying, because our attention span is what it is. Well, now fast forward, clients need to hear our message anywhere from 8 to 13 times. So that, and people go, what? Oh my God, all that follow-up. Well, part of that follow-up, that's why the email campaigns are really critical, especially if you have really good content, like your friend's reaction after you wrote those really nice, personable emails with valuable content for them to digest, right? It's building that no trust factor. So you do that through that email campaign. And then what happens is when you do have an offer, the person feels like they've known you already, right?
Yes.
And here's the other thing that I think and I know philosophically you believe this too. Marketing puts people into your orbit so that you can build that relationship, so that when you do have a workshop or something, they show up and have now a live conversation with you. Right now we got their bodies in the spot. That's what we wanted. Now I have to show whether they're a good match for me or I'm a good match for them. And that's building the relationship. That's when marketing has done its job. Now it's the sales conversation. Am I a good fit for this client? But that you can't have one without the other.
Absolutely. And, to that point of how many touch points you need, now they're saying 15 to 30 if it's strictly online. So if they haven't met you in person, right? If we make that connection at a networking event, at a live event, at, having some sort of conversation, it's still the lower number. But if somebody's just going to encounter you online, which does happen quite a lot, it takes a few more touch points. And that's why having regular communication, like with email, when people said, yes, I want to hear from you, right? It's not an interruption, because we check our inboxes like 17 times a day, right? We are constantly looking for that messaging. So it's a completely different relationship and conversation when someone says, yes, I want to hear from you. Then let me poke you until you actually say something.
Yeah. Or opt out, which is cool too, right? If you find that you thought it was going to be relevant and now you're like, Connie I don't resonate with her. Unsubscribe. It's cool. And it's funny. People say, what, do you get upset when people unsubscribe? I say, no, I get upset if they put it as spam. See, and I'm such a stickler because I'm a rule follower, Kim. So as soon as somebody unsubscribes, and I think maybe 5 times people have reported me as spam, my heart breaks because I think, but then I go back and I think, they did opt in for my communication style assessment. They opted in for a giveaway. They forget. So that hurts me. Like, why'd you report me as spam? But people are going to leave you because the content isn't what they thought it was. It's not personal, right? It is what it is. Another question. We talked about the email and series. You said an email series. Why is a welcome email series important? And why should we incorporate that as part of our marketing strategy?
Oh, absolutely. So, one of the top questions I get all the time, right? What's a good open rate? What's a good open rate? What's a good open rate? Now, caveat, there's no good open rate because email needs to fulfill what you want it to fulfill. It's not about opens. It's not about clicks. It's about, is email doing its job?
Right. Results.
Yeah. Is it giving you the results you want? Is it giving you the conversions it wants? Whatever that looks like, right? But a way for you to get more people to see the message before they decide, is this for me, not for me, what have you, is to have something called a welcome series. And essentially what it is it's a guided tour. It's an orientation. It's a new person in the school. Let me show you where everything is type thing. Because you mentioned, right, giveaways, you mentioned summits, you mentioned a free guide, you mentioned communication quiz. That's all anyone knows about you when they say, yes, I want to hear more. So it's your opportunity to really build that relationship. And I don't know about you, but I've got like 3,000 unread messages in one of my inboxes, and I have several inboxes, and I don't want to go into how many unread messages I have in the others. But that's what happens with a lot of people. They sign up, and as you said, right, they mark you as spam, even though they opted in, because they forget. So to make a real impression, to make that connection quick, you create a welcome series that kind of just showcases you a little bit. Here's who I am. Here's who I serve. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what other people have experienced with me. And, here's some good resources, right? So it's a guided opportunity. It's a guided experience for brand new subscribers to your list, where you build that know, like, and trust factor. You do it quickly so that people start to anticipate, hey, I've been away for 3 days. It's time for me to check my inbox. People don't look at a subject line when they're doing that. They look at the from line. Who sent me messages?
Yep.
You want to be one of those people they stop the scroll for. Oh, so-and-so sent me. Connie sent me a message. Got to put a star on that. I got to see what's going on with Connie because she's always giving me really great stuff. That's what you want the experience to be for people. So to build that anticipation, to become one of the people that people stop the scroll for. Oh, yes, this person sent me an email. Absolutely, I'm going to open it. You have to create that connection fast. Otherwise, life happens. They'll forget they signed up for your list. And, 3 weeks later, you email them and they're like, who is this person? I don't remember. So you want to make that connection fast. And that's what Welcome Series can do for you.
And here, Kim, it's so funny. Marketing and sales, they go together. It's building that no trust factor, right? And because our attention span is down, humans' attention span is down to 6 seconds. Right. We have to
Goldfish have a better attention span.
Goldfish have a 7-second attention span. So we're I often tease Kim and say, okay, so we're both in the fishbowl. The goldfish is there. I'm over here. I'm swimming away while you're pounding on the little glass, tapping. The goldfish is intrigued. I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here. Right. So that's sad.
It's a great visual.
He says it's a great visual. I'm like, yeah, I don't want, stop tapping. I'm leaving. I'm walking away. But the thing is that we do have to be touched more. But it has to be that value added. It can't just be, hey, and you mentioned, it was funny in one of your answers, you said about the LinkedIn, that they send you all this spammy, smarmy, oh, I'm so glad you connected. So this is what I do. I'm an HR specialist. I'm a coach. I'm a blah, blah, blah. Block. Because you'll never get business. I will never hire you because you're spammy, you're smarmy. It's disgusting, right? Instead of trying to build a relationship, and you can build relationships on LinkedIn too, just like Absolutely. We're talking about the email. It's a communication. It's easy. It lets me know. And it's funny because there's Alicia Huck, shout out to my good buddy out West. She's a brilliant business systems with leadership, right? To help move the needle. And to make sure the infrastructure is in place. Freaking brilliant. LinkedIn, I follow her. She does these 2-3 minute videos, maybe once a week. I always stop and watch her videos and I always comment what I walked away with because there's always so much great insight, right? I refer to her because I know the caliber of the person that she is. So that's the other thing through these connections and building that no trust factor, starting with the marketing, with the email. Eventually you want to be able to have a conversation or somebody follow you because you're a direct hit with what they're looking for from a value standpoint and need a solution, whatever it might be. Right.
Absolutely. That's the other part, right? About writing emails and making sure your emails are going to get opened, right? I hear from people all the time. They're like, oh yeah, my email open rates dropped to whatever. What do you mean you've got a better one? Or people focus on the numbers, right? They focus on the numbers. You can only join me if you have X number of subscribers. You can only, I only want to talk to you if you've got X number of subscribers. But how many of those people see your messages? It doesn't matter how many people are on the list. It matters how many people are looking and engaging.
Absolutely.
And the reason why so many people have stopped opening your emails is because the only thing you send out is, hey, here's another thing for you to buy. Here's another thing for you to buy. Here's another thing for you to buy. It's like Groupon, right? You've become the Groupon of whatever your industry is.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for a discounted dentist appointment in my local area, sure, I'm going to go look at Groupon. Any other time in the week, I'm not going to open anything from Groupon because the only thing it is, hey, Groupon is having a sale. Well, Groupon's always having a sale of some kind. It doesn't matter, right? It's not relevant to me right now. But if Groupon were to send information about local businesses or how local businesses are supporting other local businesses or success stories of people using Groupon, whatever that would look like, then maybe I'm going to open those emails because it'd be more interesting. They're going to give me value. They're going to showcase to me why it's so valuable to use local businesses, but they don't do that. It's always Here's a coupon, here's a coupon, here's a coupon. And when you only send out as a coach, as a consultant, as a sales professional, if the only thing you ever send out is, hey, it's time to buy again. Hey, it's time to buy again. Hey, it's time to buy again. Well, pretty quickly, people are going to unsubscribe or they're going to stop opening.
Yeah, sleazy.
And what's more likely to happen is they're going to stop opening, which is actually more harmful to you. You want people to unsubscribe because if they're no longer interested, then you don't want to be, sending messages to them. Right.
Because you're paying for that too.
Right. And it takes an extra step for people to unsubscribe. So if all they do is stop opening, then suddenly your open rates drop, which means your engagement drops, which means suddenly your provider's like, well, maybe they're not actually sending what they say they're sending. Should I really be making sure that email lands in someone's inbox? Yeah,
we want to make sure we're doing it right. What are some of the common mistakes that you see people make with their email? Is there like standard things that people do so that everybody listening is like, uh-oh, I do that?
Yes, absolutely. No bait and switches, right? No bait and switches. It's awesome to use curiosity-based subject lines. One of my favorite, people always love hearing about. They're like, what sci-fi, travel, and dance music has to do with email marketing? Right? People are like, I want to learn what that means, but then you have to deliver. And you have to deliver within the content of the email. What I see oftentimes is somebody will create some sort of hook, a subject line. They'll create a curiosity-based subject line. And in order to get the answer, people then have to go click somewhere else. And that's kind of like a bait and switch to people. They're like, well, I wanted the quick answer, or I wanted a hint of the answer. And then I'll decide if it's more interesting or not, right? So whatever you put in your subject line, it really does need to relate what's in the body of the email. Another big mistake I see is people don't tell you what to do next. Now, people might be thinking, oh, wait a minute, I don't need to know what to do next. But there's so many different ways that we can take that next step. We're lost. We're like, well, there's so many options. Which one should I go with? You know what? I'll figure it out later. And what happens is they never figure it out.
Yeah, that's right.
So in your message, say, hey, you want information about this? You want to know what more about this? Or if it's a value-based email, right? If it's a content strictly, talk about a single tip or a single idea. And say, you want to know more about this? Here, I wrote an article. Here, I recorded a podcast episode. Why don't you go listen to it? Give people that next step. I am a believer that every single email you send out, no matter what kind it is, needs to have a call to action.
Yeah.
Now, that call to action could literally be hit reply and tell me what you think.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's right.
But give a call to action to every single email.
Yeah. And rule of thumb, Kim, one call to action. When you start putting 2 or 3, everybody gets confused and they click on nothing, right?
So I want to clarify this. Yes, one call to action. However, that doesn't mean one clickable option. So emails tend to be short, right? I don't know about you, but the last time I got an email that was over like 500 words, I stopped reading. Like it was too much, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
To each their own style. That's fine. But when I say one call to action, I mean one thing they can do next. However, people scroll. Some people scroll all the way to the bottom, and then if they read it and it's relevant, they'll scroll back up. Some people just look for keywords. Some people look for subheadings. On our phones, especially, and more than half of people are reading their email on their phone. So, think mobile first, not on a laptop or a PC first. But people scroll. So you want to have more than one opportunity to show them that there is a next step, but that should all lead to the same place, right? Don't tell people, hey, hit reply and then take this survey and then go read the article. Like,
it's too much.
What am I supposed to do? I don't know.
And then they do nothing, right? That's
right.
Just
they do
too
absolutely
much
nothing.
to think about. You know what? I'm not doing anything. I'm not interested anymore. So we put the objection in their hands just because we weren't clear with what we're asking them to do at the end. That will still benefit them. It has to be a value added. Otherwise, they're not going to click or do whatever it is that we're asking them to do, right? That's part of building the relationship.
And when you have a call to action in every message, when it comes time for you to open access to a workshop or to promote an event or to promote a course or to promote a service, people are used to it. It's not a surprise that you're asking them to do something.
Absolutely.
They have realized that when they get a message from you, there's going to be something for them to click or do, and they can choose to do it or not. So that's another great way for you to build that relationship, is to showcase to you, hey, I want to give you some great stuff, but I also want you to do something in return, and click this. So, it's wonderful if you create a fantastic sales page and a fantastic offer, and it is the bestest thing of the bestest of the world. But if no one sees that page, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So you want to make sure that when you create something like that, people are actually going to take the initiative to go look at it.
Yeah, it's so funny. And it's a process, man, right? People don't read an email and think, I love Kim, I love Connie. It doesn't work that way. And this is what I like about you, Kim. I think your perspective and philosophy of how to approach it and test it and reiterate and test it and reiterate. So we really zero in and get the results we're looking for. But everybody's out there, emails that convert, buy this template. Is that now, do I believe that templates are useful? Sure. But there has to be your voice within that template, not just fill in the blanks, because I find that if it's not your voice, people are going to know. And it's cute because people will send me emails. I wrote my emails, right? I didn't. But yeah, I wrote my emails to some extent. Same thing on LinkedIn, right? I try to put I take the time to put those thoughtful responses. So when people read it, they say, oh my God, you were in my head. It was like you were talking to me. That's a compliment. Because that I take my connection, my building rapport with that person, I take it seriously and it is personal. Now, if they don't want to buy from me, that's not personal, but that connection and building that bridge that they want to work with me, they want to get to know me, they want to see what else I'm going to offer. And in your case, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. So, if you're throwing crap at them, the process is even going to take so much longer because you're not doing it right out of the gate, right? Go ahead, Kim. I see you want to say something.
Yes. So there's two things you kind of touched on there. Number one, that is another big mistake I see people make, is that they're not themselves in their emails, right? I get this comment all the time. Somebody will come to me and they'll say, hey, here's what I do. Here's who I serve. Here's the kinds of, things I have to offer. I don't know how to say that in marketing speak. And I'm like, well, you say it the way you just said it. There is no marketing speak. When you try and change and censor yourself and rework yourself so that you think of how people actually want to hear from you, you are not being authentic. You're not being yourself. You're not giving your audience the true experience they could actually have. Yeah. And you're breaking the trust, because as soon as they see you in person, right, they get these emails, they think one thing. Maybe they really resonate with who you seem to be in emails, but then they hear you on a call, they hear you on a webinar, they actually meet you in person and it's completely different. You've broken that trust because suddenly they're like, wait a minute, this isn't who I thought I was following. This is a completely different person.
Absolutely.
So it's not a matter of, well, how do I make it so that I seem like the right fit? You be you. Yeah. You be you. Put yourself in your messaging, put yourself in your emails, and that will then create the connection, right? So many people were like, well, I don't want to have to talk about the really personal stuff because it's for business, right? They're like, I don't want to talk about my kids, or I don't want to talk about my marriage. I'm like, well, okay, don't talk about those things. That's fine. But, talk about the fact that you love hiking, or that you hate the outdoors, or that you are so excited because you're about to go to a birthday party and they're going to have a clown making balloon animals. And even though you're over 4, that's still awesome for you. Like, all of those things are still okay to talk about.
Yeah.
You choose what those look like. Yeah. But you want to be you.
But Kim, here's the thing. It's hard because something you said this whole marketing, you see, it's exhausting. It makes my head hurt, because the marketing messaging, what you just said, is not what most people are saying. You have to get it right. Your ideal, it has to be to your ideal client and avatar and all this stuff. Instead of exactly what you said, it has to be your voice. It has to be you, that they know what they're getting. And it's actually a very funny story. So I was at a diner locally with a girlfriend, maybe 5 years ago. I don't even know, maybe 10 years ago now. And my back was to the back of the restaurant. And as these women were leaving, they come by me. Now my back is to them, right? And the woman turns around and looks at me and she says, "Are you Connie Whitman?" And I didn't recognize her. And I said, I am. I go, I don't think I recognize you, but I am. How do I know you? And she said, we worked together. And it was like 15 years before, 20 years before.
Right.
And this was fascinating. She goes, we were sitting behind you. The sound of your voice and your goofiness and the way I was talking to my friend, she says to her friend, I know that person. That's Connie Whitman. I know it's her. I know it's her. So now she comes, she goes, it's definitely you, curly hair, the whole thing. At the end, she says to me, listening to you talk to your friends, she said, Connie, when you would come, it was a bank that she worked at. She was, when you would come to the branch, you would come over to all the tellers when I was a regional sales manager. I said hello to everybody. How's it?
Yeah.
And I remember things. How's your son? If they played hockey, forget about it. What rink? Where were you? Right. A whole nother. And she said, you always made us feel important. You always made us feel special. You came in, you joked around with us. You helped us if we had questions. And now I'm listening to you with your friend 15 years later, and it's still you. That's the authenticity. That's when people trust you. But this marketing thing. So now fast forward, now we're in this digital realm. This was all before the digital stuff. And now it's like your marketing message, your marketing email. It still has to be your voice and your vibe. People will feel it.
So that's a fantastic story, right? Because she recognized the way you speak, the way you connect with people. And I've got another one to kind of build on that. But, one of the things you said is, well, everyone's talking about you have to speak to your ideal avatar, blah, blah, blah. You have to remember you're speaking to a person, but that's a real person. And you're going to talk to them like a real person. So when people hear the phrase, oh, you need to speak, give the message to your ideal client or to your ideal avatar, they forget that it's still a conversation.
Exactly.
So you are writing to your ideal person, but remember that it's an actual person. It is not like a list of characteristics on a piece of paper. It's a real person.
Yes.
And if you try and be somebody else, that's not who they want to work with. It was the biggest compliment anyone ever paid me. And I'm so thankful to this person. I had just got started with my copywriting career. And I went to this conference strictly for copywriters, and there were people there who were looking to hire, right? They were looking to hire freelancers. I had been communicating with somebody that was there looking to hire. And then they had a job fair, and I went to the table in person and I spoke with them and I gave them my pitch, and they're like, great, you're hired. You're going to go and write this for us. So, my very first conference, I'd been, a quote unquote copywriter for maybe a month, and I landed my first client. And then she did me the biggest favor ever. She said later, she said, you know what? I'm really glad I met you in person, because based on your emails, I didn't think you were the right fit for us, that I didn't think you were going to fit in for how we worked and how we communicated with people. And it was just completely not the right fit. However, after meeting you in person, I realized, what great energy you have, and that you were, going to be the right person to work in the process that we used. And that's because I was basing my email communication off of the only training I had, which was sophomore English on how to write business memos, right? You have to be formal. You have to, be really strict and really, okay,
Absolutely.
Here's just the information. There's nothing else you need to know. And that just doesn't fly anymore. Like
Nope.
the only time I expect to get a really boring email is from like a bank saying,
Yes.
hey, your statement's ready.
Yes. Yes.
Any other time, I want a real person communicating with me. Like, I'm aware, right? That email's going out to 100 people, 1,000, whatever.
Of course.
But I'm not going to read something that's, dear sir or madam, I am calling to inform you of, like, that's not the way it works. So it was the best thing ever to happen to me. And I'm so thankful this told me about the disconnect, because I realized, I was like, wait a minute. Emails, even the emails I send out one-to-one, hey, did you get the thing I sent you, is a part of my marketing, and it's a reflection of working with me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's the best compliment when someone says, it was like, it was your voice. It was like you were talking to me, right?
Yes.
When people say that to me, I love it. I get so excited. It was funny when I did my last workshop. I'm doing another one in November, and the people that were in it, and afterwards they joined my 9-week program, and, the first week. So I'm like, I'm so excited. How'd you hear about me? How'd you find me? And one was from you, from your
Yes.
email list, and you promoted it and they found me that way. Another one had been following me on my podcast. They heard me on someone else's. They loved me. And the both of them said, these two women, it was the cutest thing. They said, every time I listen to something, it's a podcast, or I read your email, or I listen to one of your videos, or you're on somebody else's podcast, I feel like you're always talking to me. And I said, and that's how you knew I was the right fit for you, because it was
Exactly.
like I was talking to you. You are the perfect client for me. You're heart-centered. You have so much to offer. You're just afraid of the sales conversation. You know what you have is good. You just don't know how to put it into and engage the person, and then ultimately ask for the business. And marketing can't do that for you. They can get you on lists. They could sign you up. You can buy low price point. But if you're selling a $2,000 or $10,000 program, chances are you're not doing it just through email, right, Kimberly? It has to be a conversation, usually with a higher ticket.
Absolutely. There's generally an expectation in the marketing world, like at a certain price point, then it requires a conversation, or it requires some sort of face-to-face, right?
Yeah, I think,
it requires some sort of connection point before they're going to say yes, which is fine, right? That's great. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. But they still need to know who you are. They still need to find you. So marketing is still a key part of that
100%.
process.
Yep.
Yes, they're going to get on the phone with you to have that sales conversation, but to get them on the phone, right, they have to encounter you first. And that's kind of where it goes hand in hand, which, I love what you were saying about that.
Yeah. It's, we need each other, Kim.
We do.
We're good partners. I love it.
It's
so
awesome.
We are out of time, but I do want to share a couple of things. Kimberly is a dear friend, has become a dear friend. She has, I'm telling you, come in my orbit, you become my family. It's just how I roll. But she's very generous, like I am, and has some free gifts for you. So the first one is the audienceconverter.com/giveaway. Don't worry, I will put that in the show notes so you can find it easy peasy. She's part of a giveaway, giving some free gifts, right, Kim? Just for you build your toolbox, right? Sharpen your tool, like Stephen Covey would say, right? Or Franklin Covey would say, sharpen your tool belt so that we could start 2022 and really, kick some butt out there.
Absolutely. That link goes to about the welcome series that I was talking about. So it's a guide on how to write it. So
wonderful. The next one is she has a masterclass. It's a free masterclass. Again, it's the audienceconverter.com/avoid 3 mistakes. There's hyphens. I will put it in the notes again, so you don't make any mistakes. But I do recommend those two. If one of them is interesting to you, the one is the written, the other one is the masterclass where you get Kim live. Whatever tickles your fancy. 2 options for you. The last thing I do want to say is, and I've been on her show as well, but she has a podcast called The Audience Converter, and I really highly recommend it if you are looking or trying to do some marketing stuff and you're not really sure. And here's the other thing too. I believe in doing a little bit of education to yourself so that when you do get in front of the Kimberlys of the world, who is an expert in marketing, you're asking the right questions, but also as she's giving you, in this case, Kim's giving you that information, you have some background, you understand where it's coming from and the importance of XYZ, whatever it is. So again, listen to the podcast, The Audience Converter. Kim's great. Her guests are great. And it's another free resource that you can learn so much from. So Kim, thank you for being on and taking the time. Always, I always learn something from you.
Thank you so much for having me, Connie. It's always fantastic to sit down and chat with you. And I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together that no matter where you are in your career and or in business, right? My guests and I, we really do have your back, and we really are trying to come forward and come on the show and share some tips and strategies and ideas, even just to get you thinking about whatever that next step is, even if you're not ready until 6 months from now. Educate yourself now. My guests and I are sharing those tips and strategies and a ton of resources that I do always hope that you find valuable. Thank you for tuning in to Changing the Sales Game podcast with me, your host. Connie Whitman on webtalkradio.net. And I really do wish you all an inspired week where you embrace something, some tips, some ideas, some strategy, find your voice, if you will, with email marketing that we talked about today. I just hope that you choose a tip or an idea that Kim or I shared today and you apply it. With the application comes the magic of results. And Kim said it before, it's a numbers game, and it's not about them staying on your page. It's about the conversion. Are you making money from it? If not, maybe the email campaign needs to change. So again, I thank you for tuning in. I'm honored that you have joined me on this journey. And I hope my guests and I have provided some good content for you. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you next week. Thanks a million.